Hello and welcome to this episode of Simply Cooking with Ken Thompson. It's the fall season and getting towards Thanksgiving, so today I'm going to try something called pumpkin pie dump cake. So let's get right to it and see how it turns out. So these are the ingredients we're going to need to make our pumpkin pie dump cake. There is a little bit of mixing involved, so it's not truly a dump cake, but it's pretty darn close. So let's get to it. Okay, so are you ready for this? Here's what we got. We got 1 can of pumpkin puree, 100% pure pumpkin. This is not, I repeat, not pumpkin pie filling. This is the pure pumpkin. This is a 29-ounce can, which would be what you would use if you were making 2 standard size pumpkin pies, say a 9-inch pie. You would use this 1 can to make 2 pies. So, next we're just going to get that all out of here. Okay. All right, that's pretty good. Next, I'm going to pour in 1 12-ounce can of evaporated milk. This is evaporated milk. The recipe does not call for sweetened condensed milk. It does call for evaporated milk, and they are quite different. So you don't want to substitute one for the other. If you do want to use condensed milk that is sweetened as opposed to this, you will need to remove most or all of your sugar. Okay. Next we had 3 eggs. Now I like to crack my eggs into a bowl separately just in case you end up with a bad egg. I don't want to pour it in everything else and ruin what we've got. And then I like to go ahead and stir them up some before I put them in as well. I do that for pretty much any recipe that I use, any baking recipes. I pretty much always will always take my eggs and go ahead and break them up, and of course always open them separately. Plus I usually let them come up to room temperature as well. That's just a couple of things I do. I like to bake, so there are a couple of things that I've learned over time, and they seem to work out well. Alright, I'm just mixing this up a little bit. I'm not trying to mix it completely here. This is 1 cup of plain granulated sugar. Go ahead and pour that in. And this is 3 teaspoons of pumpkin pie spice. Now if you don't have pumpkin pie spice, you can use things like cinnamon and clove, allspice, let's see what else is in there, nutmeg, ginger, all of that. This is pretty much a combination of those. So like I said, if you don't have pumpkin pie spice, you can usually go in your cupboard and substitute a few things. Always make sure at least you get some cinnamon in there, maybe a little nutmeg, touch of clove. Yeah, just some stuff like that. So we'll pour that in. Okay. Now I'm just going to do a rough mix here. And if you can see right there, see, we're just kind of pouring this in, mixing it up a little bit. All right. Now, I do have one of those wonderful KitchenAid mixers, which is what I'm going to take this over to. I'm going to use the whisk attachment, and I'm just going to let that thing mix this up for a while. Okay. Sorry about all that noise there. Okay, as I said, I do have one of these nice KitchenAid mixers, and if you do a lot of baking, I highly recommend getting one of these things. And even if you don't, they're handy for a lot of stuff. I use this thing with different attachments. It's, as my wife and I both call it, the world's greatest cheese shredder and the world's most expensive cheese shredder, for sure. Anyway, I'm just pull this up, and we're just going to turn that on and let that mix in there for a couple of minutes. Okay, so the pie filling has been mixed, and now it's time to assemble our dump cake. Got a 9x13 pan here. Going to use a little bit of cooking spray, non-stick spray. We'll just spray her down real quick. There we go. Next, we just pour our pie mix right into our 9x13 pan. Just like you were making a pie. In reality, I was looking through this and thinking to myself, this is kind of like making the pie upside down. So we've got our cake mix going to go on top of this almost as like a crust. Plus, I have a little trick up my sleeve here. Decided to do things a little bit different. Most of what I saw was looking for most of the recipes I've seen will put something like pecans on top, which is great. I love pecans. Or I saw some with graham crackers on top, and I'm like, yeah, that sounds pretty good because that's almost like a crust, like a pie crust, right? But one thing kind of struck me, and I kind of thought of this while I was in the breakfast aisle in the grocery store. I said, what about honey graham cereal? So that's what we're doing. I like to get textures in my food as often as I can, at least as long as I feel like they're appropriate textures. This is making a mess tonight, let me tell you. I tell you. Alright, that's okay. That still tastes good, right? That's what really counts. I don't really care if I make a big mess. Well, I do care if I make a big mess. Try not to make a big mess, maybe a little mess. Didn't get a lot of these things. Pick a few of these out because they are clumpy. We don't like the clumps in here. Usually I got more of the clumps out of these things. Could be this cake mix is a little bit different. This isn't the same one that I've used in the past. So we'll try this out. Alright, once we get this spread out fairly evenly, pretty much wall to wall. Okay. Now I've got 3/4 cup melted butter, and I have honey graham cereal that I put into a quart zipper bag, and then I just broke it up some by kind of hitting it on the counter, like so. Alright? Didn't want to turn it into completely crumbs, but I didn't want it like whole pieces of cereal either, so we're just going to take some of this and spread it all over the top. And hopefully this will give us a little bit of crunch, at the same time mimicking something similar to a graham cracker crust. I think that would be kind of neat. Okay. There we go. Alright. Now after we've got that on there, we're just going to take this butter, pour it over the top, kind of evenly if we can. I know a lot of people use the pats of butter, which is perfectly fine. If that's what you prefer to do, then go right ahead. I just like this method. It's been working pretty well for me, so that's what I'm gonna do. So that's what I'm gonna do. There we go. All right. Okay, that's it. Go ahead and bring you over here a little bit closer, and now she is ready to go in the oven. Going to bake this at 350 for about 50 minutes, and then we'll check it. Okay, there it is, fresh out of the oven. Gonna let it cool off for a little bit now, and then we'll put some in a bowl with a little bit of whipped topping on it and see how it tastes. Okay, so now for the moment of truth, we're going to try cutting a little bit out of this thing and see what it tastes like. Let's see here. Pull that in, pull this out, and there we go. Okay. So as you can see, we have our layer of cake and golden graham cereal sitting on top of a pumpkin pie base. All right. So the next thing we need to do, I mean, come on, pumpkin pie, right? Whipped topping is a must. There we go. What do you think about that? And let's give it a taste. Well, that's pretty darn good. And it's got crunch. Oh yeah. Definitely. Okay, so, well, that turned out good. I like it. I think I'll keep that recipe. And I wanted to try it and see how it went. It turned out really good. So again, I'd like you to thank you for stopping by and watching. Please leave some comments below if there's anything you can think about. Or if you try the recipe, let me know how it turns out. Give me a thumbs up if you like it, a thumbs down if you don't. I don't really care. That's all up to you. Subscribe to the channel if you haven't already. And thank you again for watching Simply Cooking with Ken Thompson. Oh, and one more thing. I just gave some to my girls, and they said they love it. She's waiting.